لا شريك له محمدا عبده ورسوله السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. All praises due to Allah. We praise Him and we thank Him that we are able to assemble again in a virtual setting, so that we can study the Arabic language, all with a view to getting closer to Him through His words in His book, right, the Quran. Inshallah, I hope everyone's well. Today, inshallah, we will continue with our lesson, chapter 11. We would have read it a good number of times. Inshallah, today I just want to go straight into the exercises. Anybody has any questions before we start back, or rather to continue with our exercises? Any questions? All right, if there are no questions, we'll go into the lesson here. All right, so just to remind us, in this lesson, we will have learned some more forms of the present tense verb. All right, so we would have dealt with most of the forms of the past tense verb, and then we will introduce to some forms of the present tense verb, and we'll continue to be introduced to some more of them in this lesson. Okay, so for example, we saw, of course, with the present tense verb, we have the prefix added before the three root letters of the verb, and of course, with some of them, we have the suffix also being added on. Right, so for example, you have dhahaba, yadhabu, with ya being the prefix that is added at the beginning. All right, then you have yadhabuna with a waw and a noon added at the end of the word, which is the suffix. Right, so the dhahaba, yadhabu, dhahaba means he went, yadhabu, he is going or he goes, and yadhabuna is plural, so they, masculine, third person, they go. All right, so we see how the suffix and the prefix are added according to the usage of it. We also saw that there's one particular form of the present tense verb which we have to be careful that it is used in two different scenarios, right? One form of the present tense verb that is used for two different scenarios, and that is taf'alu, right? So you have fa'ala, yaf'alu, taf'alu, right? So if you have dhahaba, yadhabu, tadhabu. So with the ta in front, right? The ta being added, you can use that for anta, you, masculine, singular, or we can use it for hiya, she, feminine, third person, right? Singular. So we can say anta tadhabu, you are going, right? Or you could say hiya tadhabu, she goes. So one is second person, masculine. Next one is third person, feminine. Both are singular. Both of these words are identical. There's no difference at all. All the vowels are the same, all the letters are the same. Right? So how do we distinguish between them? It's through the context in the sentence. Right? Context. Just as in English, you have many words which, when we read them in context, we understand the difference in meaning. Okay? For example, here, or rather, bear. For example, bear, B-E-A-R is a big animal, right? Or B-E-A-R means like to bear a situation, bear some pain, right? So they spell the same way, they sound the same way, but in the context, we have a different meaning. So similarly with the word for second person masculine singular and third person feminine singular, present tense verb, they are the same, and only through the context we know the difference, right? We also were introduced in this lesson, and we will have an exercise concerning this a little bit later on. Inshallah, we will get to that today, right? We also introduced to the future tense. Sorry, not future tense, but the future particle. So there's a letter, a particle that we can add on to the present tense verb to refer to the future. All right, so we know in English, we have past tense, present tense, and future tense. English grammar, all right? In Arabic, we have past tense, present tense, and then we have the command form of the verb, right? So if we are referring to the future, then we would need to add on a particle onto the past, the present tense verb to refer to the future. And that particle is the seen, which is added onto the present tense verb. And you'll see many examples when we do the exercise later on, right? So we add that seen on. There's also another particle which we can add, right? Called sulfur. So seen and sulfur. And they both are added onto the present tense verb, present tense, right? Verb to refer to the future, right? So you may ask, what's the difference between seen and the sulfur? When do we use the seen and when do we use the sulfur, right? And the usage of both of them are relative. They are relative, right? So if you want to refer to something more immediate, in the more immediate future, we use the seen. And if you want to use something in the more distant future, we use the sulfur. We use sulfur. Of course, immediate and distant future are also relative in their own way, all right? So it depends on what you're talking about. The immediate future might be next year, all right? Or could be tomorrow, the immediate future, all right? And again, depending on what you're talking about, the distant future might be next week or maybe next 10 years. So it's all relative. For example, if somebody is going to Hajj, there's no Hajj until next year again, right? Or later on in this Islamic year, but next year in the English calendar, all right? So, but in terms of people going to Hajj, this is in the near future, okay? The next Hajj coming up will be considered in the near future because relative to the other Hajj, which will be the following year and the year after that, this Hajj coming up will be considered quote unquote in the near future with respect to people going to Hajj, right? So you will say, use the seen in that case, right? Sa'adhabu ila Makkah, right? So I will go to Makkah. So that will be more immediate future, right? Or if somebody's saving up for Hajj and they say, okay, saving up in about 10 years' time, I might have enough money to go to Hajj, then you will say Sawfa Azhabu. You know, inshallah, in the future, go to Hajj. If it's talking about somebody, I don't know, delivering something for you, then tomorrow might be immediate future, whereas next week might be more quote unquote distant future, right? So it's all relative. How we use the seen or the sulfur, it's relative, right? But in that particular thing you're talking about, if you're talking about that near this in the near future, you see, and the more distant future will be sulfur, right? And how do we use that? We will see inshallah in the exercise when we go through the exercise. Right? All right, so let's go on. I think we would have done lesson exercise 6 last time, or at least we would have started it. So we're going straight into lesson 7, or exercise 7. رقم 7. So we are on page 79, 79. رقم 7. أنث الفاعل في كل من الجمل الآتية. من الجمل الآتية. To make feminine the fa'il in each of the following sentences. And we have an example. So we're seeing here, we are given some sentences, and we have to change the do of the verb, the fa'il, to feminine. And therefore, if you change that to feminine, we have to change the verb. Okay, we have to change the verb to match that. All right, to agree with that. So let's see the first example. أين يدرس أخوك يا علي؟ أين يدرس أخوك يا علي؟ أين يدرس. So we have the verb درس يدرس. Remember from now on going forward, whenever we learn a verb, we have to learn the past tense and the present tense, right? So when you learn a verb, darasa, we learn the present tense one time, yadurusu. Darasa, yadurusu. Dahaba, yadhabu. Jalasa, yajlisu. Right? Akala, yakulu. Right? And so on. So we learn the present tense. So darasa, yadurusu. Aina yadurusu. Akhuka, ya aliyu. Where does your brother study? O Ali. Right? So the answer, sorry, when we change it to feminine, you would say, Aina tad rusu. See how the ya changed that there? Aina tad rusu. Ukhtuka ya Ali. Where does your sister study? O Ali. All right? So say after me. Aina yadrusu akhuka ya Ali. Aina yadrusu akhuka ya Ali. أين تدرس أختك يا علي؟ أين تدرس أختك يا علي؟ Right, so we have it. رقم 2 يشرب أبي القهوة. So have here a verbal sentence, starts with a verb, followed by the do of the verb, and then it's followed followed by the maf'ul bihi or the object of the sentence. Remember, the maf'ul bihi is always the accusative case, which would normally or generally take a fatha in the last letter. Okay, so we see here yashrabu. So we have the verb. Say after me. Sharaba yashrabu. Sharaba yashrabu. Oh, sorry. Shariba yashrabu. Shariba yashrabu. Shariba yashrabu. So now we have the sentence. Yashrabu abi al-qahwata. Yashrabu abi al-qahwata. Now we have to change abi to feminine. We will say ummi. All right. So instead of yashrabu, we have to say what now? Tashrabu. Tashrabu. Okay. So we say tashrabu ummi al-qahwata. So say after me. Tashrabu ummi al-qahwata. Everybody with me? All right. Who want to try the next one now? What do we have here? Yal'abu at-tiflu ma'a ukhtuhu. Yal'abu at-tiflu ma'a ukhtuhu. Wa ma'a ukhtihi. That the toddler or the child plays with his sister. Okay? Who wants to attempt that? So we change in tifl, which is a male toddler or male child, to a female child. And we just add a tarmamuta to make it feminine. All right, so instead of a tiflu, we would have a tiflatu with that tarmamuta at the end. All right, who wants to try it now?
تلعب طفلة مع أخ أخته.
نعم. أخته. أخته. right? So مع ومثل أخته. نعم. أحسنت. So instead of يلعب, we have تلعب. Alright, تلعب. Good. So it's a pattern. You all see the pattern, alright? Next one. يذهب الطالب إلى المدرسة. Student went to the school. يذهب الطالب إلى المدرسة. The student went to the school. So we change الطالب to feminine. We will get what? It's على تاء مربوطة. What do we get? الطالبة. So how do we change the sentence? Instead of يذهب, we have تذهب الطالبة إلى المدرسة. Simple, right? يذهب تذهب. تذهب الطالبة إلى المدرسة. So say again after me. تذهب الطالبة إلى المدرسة. رقم 5. أين يجلس المدرس؟ أين يجلس المدرس؟ All right, so here we have يجلس. See the ya? You all know as a ya, right? So they have the part going above the jim, but the two dots below goes with that part on top of the jim, right? So jalasa yajlisu. Jalasa yajlisu. So instead of yajlisu, we change al-mudarrisu to al-mudarrisatu, female teacher. So what we will get? Aina. Huh? Instead of yajlisu, what do we have? Tajlisu. Simple. Change ya ta ta. Now. So aina tajlisu. Al mudarrisa tu. Don't forget to make this feminine, right? Al mudarrisa tu.
Can you repeat the answer to number 2?
Number 2.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have yashrabu abi al qahwata. So we change it to feminine. You will have tashrab.
Sorry. Number 3. Sorry.
Number 3. Oh. So the original thing is yal'abu at-tifla at-tiflu ma'a ukhtihi. So we change it to feminine. You will have tal'abu with a ta. Tal'abu at-tiflatu. The ta marbuta added to the word at-tifl, right? So you get at-tiflatu alif lam ta with a shaddani ta. Fa lam ta marbuta. All right, a single dhamma on the tar marbuta because we have alif lam, so you can't have tanween if you have alif lam on the same word, right? So it's tal'abu at-tiflatu ma'a ukhtihi. Sorry, ukhtuha, because it changed the tifl to tifla. Okay, so you say ukhtiha, so you change the who to ha. Okay, her sister. All right. Any other questions? Let's see if we could write. تلعب how to write to the mouse. There's a fine in the middle here, right? تلعب الطفلة مع مع أختها. Hold on, it's too confusing. تلعب الطفلة مع أختها. All right? Any other questions? You really have that? All right, so we're going to رقم 8. Number 8. تأمل ما يلي. Observe what follows. And this is the same thing we were speaking about. The same word تذهب. It is used in two different ways. One is أنت, you. أنت تذهب, or هي, she. هي تذهب. أنت تذهب, هي تذهب. Okay? You say after me. أنت تذهب. أنت تذهب. هي تذهب. أنت تذهب. هي تذهب. أنت تذهب. هي تذهب. رقم 9. You have here حول الفعل حول الفعل في كل من الجمل الآتية إلى مضارع. So we have sentences with the verbs in the sentences as past tense verbs. Okay? As what? Huh? Past tense verbs. You remember past tense verbs, right? Hope you all didn't forget past tense verbs, right? So you have ذهب, ذهبت. أنا ذهبت. You all remember that? أنا ذهبت. I went. Past tense. Right? So this is called فعل المضارع. Sorry, فعل الماضي. Called what? فعل الماضي. ماضي is past tense verbs. What do we have to change it to? فعل المضارع. مضارع. Present tense verbs. Right? So let's look at the example here. أنا ذهبت إلى السوق. أنا ذهبت إلى السوق. Remember, the sin is one of the sun letters. Therefore, when there's an aleph and lam on it, the lam is silent because the sin is a sun letter, and therefore, we have to join what comes before straight to the sun letter. Right? If there's nothing before it, then we put a fatha on the hamzatul wasl, which is the aleph. Right? So if there's nothing before it, we will say as-suku. As-suku. All right? If there's something before it, the aleph and the lam become silent, and we go straight to the sin. So we say ilas, ilas, join straight to the sin. Ilas-suqi. All right? So say after me. أنا ذهبت إلى السوق. أنا ذهبت إلى السوق. I went to the market. Change that now to present tense verb. We get أنا أذهب. So say after me. أنا أذهب. أنا أذهب إلى السوق. أنا أذهب إلى السوق. Remember, إلى is a حرف jar. It is a particle of it makes the words after it genitive. Okay, therefore we say asuqi with the kasra below the qaf. All right. So again, أنا أذهب إلى السوق. أنا أذهب إلى السوق. Right. So let's look at the others here. غسل الولد وجهه بالصابون. بالصابون. The boy washed his face with soap. All right? Past tense. Washed. So we have to make it present tense. Anybody want to attempt that?
يغسل
Say again.
يغسل
نعم. يغسل
الولد
الولد وجهه
بالصابون.
بالصابون. نعم. أحسنت. The boy washes, present tense, the boy washes his face with soap. Right? So everybody say that, please. يغسل. Right? يغسل.
يغسل
يغسل الولد.
الولد
يغسل الولد
يغسل الولد
وجهه
وجهه
بالصابون.
بالصابون.
Notice we say wajhahu. So the word wajhun, it means face. So wajhuhu is his face. But the first ha there takes a fatha because it's the object of the sentence. Okay? So we have to say wajha. Why? Because that is the thing that is being washed, is the object of the sentence. Okay? Therefore, it's in the accusative form. And the accusative form normally takes what vowel on the last letter? Now, be careful here, please. Be very careful. The last letter in this word is the first ha. All right? We have to. This is the first. This is the last letter in the word. The other ha there is the pronoun is added on. It's a pronoun. It's not part of the word wajh, which means face. All right? You all with me? So it's wajhahu. His face. What is being washed? The face. So the face is the object. The face has to take the fatha on the last letter to show it is accusative because it's the object. Okay, so again, say after me. Yaghsilu
يغسل
al-waladu
الولد
wajhahu
وجهه
bis-sabuni.
بالصابون.
The boy washes his face with soap. Okay, the boy washes his face with soap. Next one. Anybody want to attempt the next one? رقم 3. So what do we have here? We have الطلاب خرجوا من الفصل.
يخرجون الطلاب يخرجون من الفصل.
نعم أحسن. الطلاب يخرجون
من الفصل.
يخرجون من الفصل. Again, min is a harf jar, therefore al-fasl will be in the genitive case, and therefore it will have the kasra below the lam. So what do we have here? خرجوا, you have يخرجون. Ya, fa, ra, يخرجون. Right? So say after me again. الطلاب يخرجون من الفصل. الطلاب يخرجون من الفصل. رقم 4. Anybody want to try it? Let me read it first. بأي جامعة درست يا فيصل. درست past tense, right? بأي جامعة درست يا فيصل. Single dhamma, okay? Because of the ya. Who wanna attempt that?
أي جامعة تدرس يا فيصل.
Now, accent. So we change darasta to tadrusu. Remember we say anta tadrusu, anta tadhabu, anta takhraju. Right? So the ta is added at the beginning. Right? Now, accent. بأي جامعة تدرس يا فيصل. So say after me. بأي جامعة
أي جامعة
يا فيصل.
يا فيصل.
رقم 5. Anybody else want to try? Anybody at all?
الطالبات يدخلن الفصل.
فصلة. نعم.
لا، الفصل.
فصلة. نعم.
الطالبات يدخلن.
Sorry, it's pressing wrong thing. Stick clean up here a bit. Right. نعم. الطالبات دخلنا الفصل. This is past tense. Okay. So we change it to present tense. We get الطالبات
يدخل.
يدخلن. نعم. يدخلن. Remember, we have دخل يدخل يدخل singular. Okay. Masculine singular. Third person. دخل يدخل. All right. Then we have يدخلون. يدخلون for masculine plural. Then you have يدخلن for feminine plural. Third person. Okay. So you have ya, ya, ya. So third person, the pronoun or the prefix, sorry, the prefix that we add on to the verb. You all with me? The prefix that we add on to the verb for third person cases would be the ya.
Yeah.
Except for one thing, except for one of the forms. Which one is that? We do it a few times just now, at the beginning of the class. But here, feminine singular, third person. Feminine singular, third person.
Second.
Right? We use it ta. So we say, remember, we say tadhabu for second person, masculine. We also say tadhabu for third person, feminine singular. So that is the only third person so far that we do not use the ya. All the others, whether it's masculine singular, masculine plural, or feminine plural, the prefix is the ya. You're with me? So let's look at the 4 forms of the third person we use so far? 4 forms. You have he, she. That is masculine, feminine, singular, third person, right? He, she. Then you have they, masculine, they, feminine, right? So plural. We have singular, plural. We deal with dual yet. Later on we deal with dual, right? So singular, plural. Masculine, singular, feminine, singular. Masculine, plural, feminine, plural. All of them, the prefix we added on is the what? Is the ya.
Yeah.
Except for one of them, which is the feminine singular, third person. All right? We add a ta. Okay? That's just a side note. Right, so you have here رقم 5 الطالبات دخلنا الفصل. So we make it present tense. We say الطالبات يدخلن. الطالبات يدخلن الفصل. Right, رقم 6. Who wants to try this one? لعبت أو لعبت آمنة مع أختها. مع أختها. Change it to present tense. So لعبت. But change to what?
الأب
تلعب. نعم.
نعم.
تلعب. So remember here, Amina is what? Is here. Here, she, right? So Amina, third person, feminine. You would say what? تلعب. تلعب. Everybody with me? تلعب. Right? Next one. كتب المدرس الدرس على السبورة. We want to try this one. Change it to present tense. So instead of kataba, we have what?
يكتب
ها؟
يكتب
يكتب. نعم. كتب يكتب. يكتب المدرس. يكتب المدرس الدرس على السبورة. So say after me. يكتب.
يكتب
يكتب المدرس
يكتب المدرس
الدرس على
الدرس
السبورة.
على السبورة.
رقم 8. سأل الطلاب المدرس أسئلة كثيرة. So here we have سأل الطلاب المدرس. Be careful here when you changing this, right? First of all, question. Why are we speaking about plural? We do have the verb is plural, not so? Tulab, the students. So why are we using the singular form for the past tense verb? Start the sentence.
A verbal sentence.
Right? Good. The verbal sentence. And what is the rule when it starts with a verb? What do we consider any number?
It doesn't have to agree with the subject. The verb doesn't have to agree with the subject.
Right, correct. It does not agree with the subject in terms of number, right?
Yeah.
But it has to agree in terms of gender. Okay. So once it agrees in terms of gender, once the verb starts the sentence, then we can use after that the subject can be singular, dual, plural. We could use the singular form of the verb to start. That's allowed, right? And in fact, that's a more common thing. All right. So we have here sa'ala at-tulabu. So this is plural, but we use the singular form of the verb to start the sentence. All right. So similarly, when we're making it into present tense verb, we can do the same thing, right? So instead of sa'ala, we will get
Yes,
yas'alu. Now, so remember sa'ala, past tense, yas'alu. Fathah on the hamza. Yas'alu. Yas'alu. Sa'ala yas'alu. So we have yas'alu at-tullabu al-mudarrisa as'ilatan kathiratan. Anybody lost there? You all remember the rule that we did, right? Any questions? We did that a while back. Once we're beginning with the verb, once you're beginning with the verb just has to agree with the subject in gender. Doesn't have to agree in number. If you use a singular form. Right? Or rather, I shouldn't say so general because it's not allowed to do the opposite. You can't use plural verb and a singular subject. I say yes, aluna atolib. That's wrong, right? You could use singular verb for single, dual, or plural subject. Once the verb comes first. Once the verb comes first before the dual, right? So see after me again. Sa'ala at-tullabu al-mudarrisa. Notice we say al-mudarrisa with a fatha on the scene because that is now the object. That's the thing being asked. The teacher is the one being asked, okay? Sa'ala at-tullabu al-mudarrisa as'ilatan kathiratan. Many questions. It changes the present tense. We get what? Yas'alu. Yas'alu at-tullaba. Sorry, at-tullabu. Yas'alu at-tullabu al-mudarrisa as'ilatan kathiratan. Next one, similar thing here. Nazala ar-rukkabu min al-hafilati. Again, nazala ar-rukkabu min al-hafilati. Okay, the passengers disembarked from the bus or descended from the bus. Right? So we put that in the present tense. We have the same situation here where the verb is coming before we do of the verb. Therefore, we can keep the same protocol here where we use the singular form once it is before the subject. Okay? Everybody with me on that? So instead of we change it, instead of the past tense, we put present tense. So we have nazala yanzilu. Nazala yanzilu. Remember when you're learning a verb, you have to learn the present tense with it. Why? Because the vowel on the center or the middle letter varies from one verb to the other. So here we have the present tense verb taking a kasra in the middle letter. Okay? Kasra in the middle letter. So say after me. Nazala yanzilu. All right, so say after me. ينزل ينزل
ينزل
الركاب
الركاب
من الحافلة.
آه،
ينزل الركاب من الحافلة.
ينزل الركاب.
Right. Next one. رقم 10. What do we have here? غسلت غسلت أمي الثياب. غسلت أمي الثياب. So we change this to present tense, we will get what?
تغلس
تغلس. تغسل. Sorry. So you have غسل يغسل with a kasra below the sin. So the يغسل will change to تغ,
تغسل
right? Because it is ummi. It is third person feminine singular. Okay? So say after me. تغسل أمي الثياب.
تغسل أمي
تغسل أمي الثياب.
تغسل أمي الثياب.
تغسل أمي الثياب. All right. Any questions on that? Okay. رقم 10 number 10. تأمل الأمثلة المثالين. تأمل المثالين ثم حول الأفعال في جمل الآتية إلى أفعال منفية. So observe the following two examples, then change the verbs in the following sentences to the negative verbs. Right? So basically, making the sentences into negative sentences. All right. Remember, we said the ma is what negates the past tense verb, and la negates the present tense. Let's look at the examples. Say after me. كتب أحمد الدرس.
كتب أحمد الدرس.
كتب أحمد الدرس.
كتب أحمد الدرس.
So we want to negate that. We say ما كتب أحمد الدرس.
كتب
ما كتب أحمد الدرس.
ما كتب
Look at the present tense. يكتب أحمد الدرس.
يكتب
يكتب أحمد الدرس. Let's see the negative, or we negate the sentence by saying لا يكتب أحمد الدرس. لا يكتب أحمد الدرس. You all understand the difference? Ma is for past tense, la is for present tense. All right? You all with me? All right, so let's see which one we use in each of these following cases to make the sentence. What do we have here? أنا أشرب الشاي. أنا أشرب الشاي. I am drinking tea. I am drinking tea. How do we negate that? Do we use ma or la? Ashrabu is in terms of past tense verb.
present tense.
Present tense. So therefore we use the
لا
yeah. So what do we say here?
لا أنا أشرب الشاي.
Now, or we could say أنا لا أشرب الشاي. Okay? So we put it immediately before the verb itself. So, okay? أنا لا أشرب الشاي. أنا لا أشرب الشاي. Next one. لعبنا كرة القدم. لعبنا كرة القدم اليوم. لعبنا كرة القدم اليوم. We played football today. What do we use? ما or لا here? We use
It's
ما. So what do we say?
nah,
ما لعبنا كرة القدم اليوم. After me. ما لعبنا كرة القدم اليوم. Now, who wants to try the next one now? رقم 3. أبي يذهب إلى السوق كل يوم. Want somebody to give me the answer for that.
لا أبي يذهب إلى السوق كل يوم.
كل يوم. Now, so we try to put the ma or the la immediately before the verb. So we say أبي لا يذهب.
أبي لا
أبي لا يذهب إلى السوق كل يوم. Right? Next one. أختي تدرس بالجامعة. أختي تدرس بالجامعة. My sister studies at the university. So if you want to negate that, we would say what?
أختي لا تدرس
نعم. أختي
بالجامعة.
لا تدرس. نعم أحسنت. أختي لا تدرس بالجامعة. The last one now. أحفظت سورة النساء يا مريم. أحفظت. Question, right? We'll say أما حفظت سورة النساء يا مريم. Did you not memorize Surah An-Nisa, O Maryam? Right? Any questions concerning that? So it's straightforward. Past tense, you use ma. Present tense, we use la. Remember, past tense in Arabic is called what? Madi. Madi. So it's easy to remember. We use ma for the madi. Okay? And we use la for the mudari'. If you want to negate it, all right? رقم 11 number 11 or 11. تأمل الأمثلة ثم أجب عن الأسئلة الآتية مستعملا حرف الاستقبال. So answer the following questions or observe what follows. Observe the examples and answer the following questions using the future particle, حرف الاستقبال. So like we spoke about, seen and sofa. All right, so let's look at these examples here and we'll see how we apply it. All right, and we would end after this, inshallah. All right. So first example, سيرجع المدير غدا. سيرجع. So we have the verb رجع, which means he returned. So from رجع we get what? يرجع. رجع يرجع. Look at it here. There's a present tense verb, right? يرجع. يا را جيم and عين. يرجع. Right? رجع يرجع. And we have the scene added on to it. This is the scene I was speaking about before. Sa. So سيرجع. سيرجع. What does this mean? يرجع means he returns. He returns. Okay? سيرجع means what? He will return. He will return. Okay? So we have the sentence سيرجع المدير غدا. The principal will return tomorrow. غدا means tomorrow. Okay, everybody with me? So say after me. سيرجع المدير غدا. سيرجع المدير غدا. Next one. سأذهب إلى مكة بعد أسبوع إن شاء الله. Again. سأذهب. سأذهب. So we have the verb ذهب. Then you want to say أنا أذهب. All right? أنا أذهب. So you have سأذهب. سأذهب إلى مكة بعد أسبوع إن شاء الله. So say after me. سأذهب إلى مكة بعد أسبوع إن شاء الله. Right? Next one. أذهب إلى الملعب كل مساء. Again. أذهب إلى الملعب كل مساء. سأذهب هذا المساء إلى مكتبتي. سأذهب. So you see here. أذهب إلى الملعب كل مساء. So I go to the playground every evening. Okay, so this is a habitual thing. It's habitual. أذهب. Meaning I go on a regular basis. I go to the playground every evening. And now we have an exception to this. He's saying سأذهب هذا المساء إلى المكتبة. But this evening I will go to the library. So I'm going to the library, or I will go to the library this evening. All right. Next example here. Or rather, no, this is the first question, right? You have to change this. You have to change this to the future tense. Example. Yeah, this is. So the question is, متى يرجع أبو. All right, sorry, you have to answer the question and change it. You have to answer the question using the future tense. Okay, let's see here. متى يرجع أبوك من بغداد يا علي. When is your father returning from Baghdad, O Ali? So Ali replies, سيرجع بعد أسبوع. So say after me. سيرجع بعد أسبوع. سيرجع بعد أسبوع. All right, so we have some to answer here. أين تذهب هذا المساء؟ أين تذهب هذا المساء? Where are you going this afternoon or this evening? Who wants to answer that? Somebody asks you, where are you going this evening? أين تذهب اليوم؟ أين تذهب بعد الصلاة؟ أين تذهب بعد الدرس? Where are you going after class? So تذهب is you go. Well, how do you say I go?
أذهب
أذهب. Now, so how do you say I will go?
أذهب
سأذهب. Simple. Just add a singular fatha. Straightforward. Couldn't be easy, right? Now, accent. So you say, you answer this question. For example, you can say سأذهب إلى البيت. I will go home. Or سأذهب إلى السوق. I will go to the market. سأذهب إلى المسجد. I will go to the masjid. Now, متى تكتب متى تكتب الرسالة إلى أمك يا يونس. When are you writing a letter to your mother or Yunus? Right? Yunus will reply, what? Sa'aktubu. Right? Taktubu, you write. Aktubu, I write. Okay? Sa'aktubu, I will write. Right? You all with me on that one? See how that looks. You have the seen sa. This is for the ana aktubu. Sorry, this mouse jumping all over the place. Sa'aktubu. Promise me? Sa'aktubu. So say that. Sa'aktubu.
سأكتب
الرسالة
الرسالة
يا أمي. I will write a letter to my mother. Okay? اليوم. Today. All right? Who wants to try the next one? متى تغسل السيارة يا ولد? When will you wash your car? Oh boy. When will you wash your car? So you say سأغسل 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 السيارة غدا إن شاء الله. I will wash my car tomorrow إن شاء الله. Last two. Anybody want to try it? متى تذهب إلى الحلاق يا هشام? What does he mean of الحلاق? Huh? الحلاق. Anybody knows? Think about it. Think about in Hajj. A particular thing in Hajj is do. After you do something and take off the ihram. What do you do? Shave your head, right? So what do you call that in what's the Arabic term for that? Huh? Halaq. Halaq, right. So in this case, halaq is the baba. Naam, ahsan. Halaq, right? So question is, متى تذهب إلى الحلاق يا هشام? Oh Hisham, when are you going to the barber?
سأذهب
سأذهب. سأذهب. Right? Now, so all of them basically the same thing. سأذهب, سأغسل, سأكتب, and so on. All right? Good. Any questions? We'll end here. pretty late, so you stop now, inshallah. Any questions? We close off then today, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات تواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. Next week inshallah you continue this lesson. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.